Morning, guys. NFTs were all the rage in 2021, but is there reason for concern? What should we be watching out for? But let's just have an open discussion. Stick with me. Hello to all my friends of the channel. Thank you very much for joining me here today. We're shifting gears slightly, and we're going to talk about a different kind of collectible, digital collectibles called NFTs. And I know for a lot of my sports card collectors, they're going to look at this as like snooze fest, not interested in NFTs, but I want to talk about it more as a whole, bring it together, not necessarily dig into a lot of the nitty gritty, but just talk about a few ideas. Like usual, kind of an opening the discussion type video to get your thoughts as well, because I've been watching the NFT space for a while. My first foray into NFTs was NBA Top Shot back in December of 2020. And so I do have a little bit of insight, but I will say that I have not yet been active with my own wallet buying NFTs using ETH, etc. I've just been kind of watching the space, taking notes, and giving my thoughts. One big takeaway is that it seems like there are a lot of projects that are popping up all over the place, whether it be from artists or from brands, athletes, etc. A lot of different types of projects that are really pushing for the community and also just kind of the long-term focus of that project with roadmaps and different types of things. And I think that a lot of them have come out without really a lot of thought behind it, kind of more of we just got to get something out. We got to ride this wave, and they're probably not wrong. I think that there is kind of a short-term wave to be rode. Is that the right way to say that? Probably not. In my opinion, too many projects that are coming out with no real long-term possibilities. What's the utility of the thing? What is the purpose of it? How is it going to grow? One thing that I thought I would see more of, and honestly, maybe I'm just missing this, but stuff that's tied to charities. It's like if you're really trying to build community, you're trying to get people on board, get people excited about it. Adding a charitable element to it, however you make that, I think would be really cool. People helping people, because a lot of this is, artists that are going digital. And frankly, artists don't make a lot of money outside of the ones on the high end, but it's not as if that's a get rich quick type plan being an artist. So I'm really happy for a lot of the digital artists that are able to turn art into something cool and then be able to turn that into something that helps them, builds a community, etc. Big focus on making money in the NFT space. It's a flipping game. I do think that a lot of people moved out of sports cards and some of the other kind of collectible spaces went to NFTs as kind of that next frontier for gold, if you will, and they haven't really been wrong on it. However, we have recently over the last, 3-6 months, we have seen over the last few months, there are projects that where you got in at a floor of 2 ETH, 3 ETH, and now it's 0.1 ETH, type thing. You are seeing projects that are failing, et cetera, where it's like if you got in early enough, you were okay, and if not, then, not so good. There's also kind of the hot topic of what are kind of the blue chip projects, and you hear about, you think about CryptoPunks and you think of Bored Apes, and the reality is that it's too new of a space for anybody to really know what that looks like. I do think there is certainly a lot of, people behind Bored Apes. There's a lot of people behind CryptoPunks. I can understand kind of the thinking as to kind of the greatest of all time, the beginnings, the history behind, those projects. But at the same time, no one really knows how that's going to look in 10, 20, 30 years. Are there NFT projects that maybe people aren't aware of right now from that same time period or a little previous or whatever that are not known yet that could be that could take over those projects? Additionally, once you have these NFTs kind of evolve and these projects evolve to where there's real solid utility, to them, does it leave those other projects in the dust, from a price perspective? A lot of NFT projects have games attached to them, so it's like eventually we're going to have a game. But a lot of folks don't talk about that. It's hard to make good games become extremely popular. Like the Fortnites of the world are extremely rare. There's a lot of games that fall by the wayside. I've been looking into this as well for like gaming in the metaverse, and, certainly there's certain kind of, blockchain technology and different tokens that I've bought into that I think are interesting, but who knows? There could be any of those could win and all of them could lose, or 0.1% could win. And, there's, all the rest of them that go away. It's tough to make an extremely popular game. And then, of course, you have the NFTs and the tokens that follow behind it and are valuable. I think that that's going to be easier said than done, but a lot of them seem to be tied to some sort of game using these NFTs within games, which makes a lot of sense to me, but who is going to be able to execute on that plan? A friend of mine that really knows this space well, Chris, had a really good take on it that I totally agree with, where he basically states that the NFTs and a lot of this infrastructure will just be part of the infrastructure, if you will, part of the world, behind the scenes stuff, to where it's not necessarily as talked about. It's just part of the culture. It's part of the world. The technology will integrate with everything that we're doing, to where now it's just so new that everyone's like, oh, what's an NFT? In the 20 years, everybody will be like, oh yeah, that's just kind of how I operate. I do think that he's right there. I just don't know how long it's going to take to get there. And I do think, when you hear Gary Vee say like, hey, NFTs are, we're at 1995 internet stocks and NFTs. I don't disagree with him there. I think that there is going to be just a lot of fallout in this particular space. And that's why I've just been kind of waiting on it just to see kind of where it all falls. Who are the winners in the space? I think that's where I'm kind of taking somewhat of a Warren Buffett approach to it, where I heard Warren Buffett talking about airlines at one point, where at one point there was a couple of hundred airlines that were competing for business. And he, if he doesn't know who is going to be kind of some of the winners coming out of that, then it's difficult to pick. It's difficult to choose, speculate on companies. Maybe it's fun to speculate on some of the stuff, but it's extremely, extremely risky. This can be tied over into other collectibles, sports cards, comic books, etc. It's fun to speculate on stuff as long as you're okay with the fact that you could lose all of it. And that's kind of where we are with a lot of this stuff. The other piece of this pie is in the United States, interest rates are set to probably go up this year. We don't know how much, we don't know when, but we believe that it probably will. It would be kind of a shock to me if this year in 2022 there are 0 rate increases. I think that there will be interest rate increases. What does that do for asset prices? And then also, how does it affect the crypto space? We don't know how it's going to affect, real estate, stock market, etc. I'm really interested to see how it affects crypto. Maybe it has 0 effect on NFTs and crypto. Maybe it has nothing. But we just don't know what that looks like. We haven't had real rate increases for a very long time. So it's difficult to know what it's going to mean for a lot of this stuff, and where, a lot of it feels overheated. A lot of the asset classes feel overheated. Everyone's kind of holding their breath a little bit. And I think that is part of the slowdown for a lot of the collectible spaces, including NFTs, is people are just kind of like, maybe there's a possibility this moves downward. Maybe I should wait a little bit, just kind of hold. I think maybe some people are just a little cautious and just kind of waiting. I am one of those people. I'm still invested in a lot of these places and I'm still, actively involved, but I'm not necessarily rushing into anything. I'm not reaching for anything. I'm not FOMOing into anything or aping into anything. And so while a lot of these collectible spaces are really, really fun, including NFTs. I think that, if you look at Steve Aoki, you look at the Gary V's of the world, these are mega influencers that are involved in this space and they are driving the culture. So you have to kind of look at that as, who are the big influencers? Who are the influencers that are making things happen? A lot of these guys are going to be followed. It's funny how, Hollywood celebrities, yes, they are famous and yes, they are popular, but social media has created a new set of celebrities. You've got the Logan Pauls of the world, you have, all the TikTok celebrities, etc. But the point is just, average people now have moved into, celebritydom. They're celebrities now. I guess you get my point. But they are the ones, in a lot of cases, with millions of followers that are driving the culture. If they're into something and they get it out in front of their viewership, it has an effect. So I really follow those people to know kind of what is coming, what is next, what are they talking about, what are they, even just indirectly, if are they giving any clues as to what they're getting into next? I think it's an important thing to follow. It's kind of a fun part of this big collectibles research project. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you big into NFTs? Are you thinking about getting in? Are you like, nah, I'm just going to stick with other physical collectibles or other stuff? And do you think that NFTs will eventually, maybe it's not right now, but eventually be a big thing? And I'm not necessarily talking about, no, this isn't a conversation about replacing sports cards or physical collectibles. This is more of like in society, NFTs being used in society, in business, etc. All right, guys, have an amazing day ahead. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.